inviolabile, for 2028. So that seems like he's saying, no, the vice president is my natural successor.
Trump drops these bombs in every conversation you have with him. I haven't interviewed him that many times because it's so difficult.
Dizzying.
Dizzying. Because he does the weave famously. But every time I've interviewed him, like 3 days later, I'll think, what, did he just say that right in the middle of right?
Yes.
Yesterday, he was doing an interview with the Daily Caller. Right in the middle of the interview, he was talking about Israel, and I love Israel, and no one's done more for Israel than I've done, and rooting for Israel. He's very pro-Israel, of course. And then he goes...
they used to own Congress or whatever.
He said that. He goes, the Israel lobbyists totally control Congress like nobody else. That's not true anymore. I'm like, did you just say that?
Yeah. It was amazing. I remember
what?
The interview or the press conference with Netanyahu, this was months ago. And I don't think I was taken in by theatricality. I think this was real when he said, and look, what we're going to do is the United States is going to take over Gaza. And you look at Netanyahu and he looks at Trump and he kind of looks nervously at the audience. He's kind of laughing, but kind of not laughing. And he's like, what is it? He goes, we're going to take over Gaza. We're going to build a big Trump casino there or whatever. I don't know what he's going to do. Hey, we're going to build it. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be the Riviera of the Middle East. And it was so apparently out of left field. And I'm not even convinced he's totally sincere on that. I think he's a great negotiator and he's working other angles.
It was weird. I was actually in the Middle East that day when that happened, and I was eating with a bunch of, local residents who run the government in the country I was in. And I'm like, and I was actually sitting at the table and they played that. Everyone's staring at this. And I thought, I don't know, what the hell is that?
Yes.
What do we have to do with Gaza? Like, my instinct is always like, we got nothing to do with this.
Yeah,
I'm out.
I'm good.
It's like when girls fight. Like, I don't want to get involved.
I'll take Monaco. I'll take the French Riviera. I don't need the Gaza Riviera.
That's exactly right. But their reaction was, I have no idea if this is true or not, but it was so interesting. They're sophisticated, very sophisticated. And they're like, oh, no, that's an attack on Netanyahu.
Yes.
That was their gut reaction. He's basically tweaking Netanyahu.
It wasn't a haymaker. It wasn't he wasn't collaborating on that. It was a little poke. And
so you think that too?
Yes, I think it was a little poke at Netanyahu.
In what way?
In the sense that it's in the cabinet meeting the other day, Trump was asked, they said, you promised that this war would be over permanently in 5 seconds after you were inaugurated. And so when are we going to get a definitive conclusion to the war? And he laughs. A definitive conclusion. He turns to Steve Witkoff. He says, hey, Steve, how long this conflict, this has been going on thousands of years, is it? Yeah, there's no definitive conclusion. We're just trying to stop the bloodshed. We're trying to establish some kind of peace. And it's this brilliant move because in what other way are you going to get the Israelis and the Arab League and the Iranian regime all united in not liking this one plan? Is by suggesting we're going to go in and take it. And so, it's basically an intractable situation. There will not be any permanent resolution probably until the second coming. So what you want to do is just establish some modicum of political order. What I would especially like to see happen is a preservation of the holy sites and, pilgrimage access and all that. But we
should demand that. I mean, that's not even, it's like, no one owns Jerusalem. Sorry.
Yeah, of course. But there's easier said than done in a messy neck of the woods.
When you're paying for it, you can just be like, look, our first demand is Christians need to be able to visit the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So,
of course.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know. It seems to me that the holy sites still seem to be okay. In Gaza, there was unfortunately the attack on St. Porphyrius, which I grant was accidental. I don't think it was. I don't see why, from a strategic perspective, it would be beneficial to the Israelis to particularly stick a finger in the eye of the Christians when America is your last political protector.
There's been a lot of it. I don't know. I don't understand it. I think it's self-destructive behavior, but what I care about is the effect on Christians, and it's just not good at all.
Well, and you have to ask yourself too, okay, what's the conclusion? You could either have the state of Israel take over Gaza again. It had Gaza from 67 until 05, then just gave it away in 05. Hamas gets elected. Hamas runs it for a little bit. And then there's the October 7th attack. Israel's going to say now, okay, this is an unacceptable security risk. We're not dealing with this anymore. So you could have Israel take it over. That's going to be probably an unsatisfactory resolution. You could have the Arab League take it over, some of Egypt take it over. I don't know that they really want to do it. No one wants to touch that hot potato. You could have, and then Trump just drops out of the air. And he says, yeah, we're taking it. And we're going to develop condominiums and we're going to ship all of the residents to South Sudan. That was floated, I think, in the Israeli government. South Sudan, the one place on earth that's less pleasant than Gaza. And I don't think that's going to work out well at all. And what is, I think Trump is totally sincere in what he says. He goes, my solution here is not some permanent answer that will totally make the Israelis happy and totally irritate all the Arabs and the Persians. My answer is not going to totally make the Israelis unhappy and totally satisfy Egypt or whatever, the Arab League. It's, I just want some semblance of peace, which is where I feel totally vindicated on this. I've said for years, when everyone is calling Trump the N-word, you know, they always call him the N-word, a nationalist.
Oh, yeah.
Always. They call him the N-word. And I said, I don't really think he's a nationalist. He loves the nation. He's a great patriot. He supports strong borders. But I said, I don't think he's really a nationalist. I think he's kind of an imperialist. He wants to acquire Greenland and invade Canada. I don't think that's not generally what like yeoman farmers do. No,
that's a Teddy Roosevelt move.
Yes. I think his vision of America first is that America will take due care to prioritize her national interests, part of which is accepting the political reality that we're the global hegemon and we need to maintain some modicum of world order. And this goes back to the really ancient conception of the political order, which is that the purpose of empire is to just have peace and order. This is in the Aeneid, in Book 6 of the Aeneid. Aeneas goes down to his dad in the underworld, and the dad gives him this whole view of what's going to happen to Rome. And he says, look, different peoples are given different arts. The Greeks are good at making souvlaki. The Chinese are good at making bad soup, and the Romans,
awful soup.
Awful. I've never even tried. The pangolin is good, but I've never tried the bat. He says the Romans, their art is to govern. And it's not, governing is not like fun. It's not the most glorious necessarily thing. In some ways it'd be more fun to be a writer. It'd be more fun to be a poet. It'd be more fun to go, but that's what the Romans are given, is to govern. And it's just a job in the world and someone's got to do it. And you just need to establish relative peace and protect the rights of nations and just keep on keeping on.
Do you think we're suited for that?
I think Trump is quite suited for it as an individual, as a national leader. Is America suited for it? That's not how we started. We weren't looking for it when the country began, but we got it.
I mean, I totally agree. Someone's got to be dad. I mean, that is absolutely just the nature of man, and there's no getting around it. In shirking it doesn't make it go away. So I completely agree with that. That's where I do agree with the neocons, I guess.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, but in a different way. Like, because the neocons, at their most extreme, would say we have an obligation because of the demands of history with a capital H to spread liberal democracy around the world. It's the
that's just stupid.
It's crazy.
But like the smart, like I remember David Brooks, who was impressive. I know it's hard to believe, but at one point when I knew him 30 years ago, he was smart, and he would say, "Look, someone's got to take control because there has to be order at the center." And that's not stupid. Where I began to really hate the neocons, where my whole politics began to revolve around opposing them as an ideology, not as individuals, but just the idea is bad.
Some of the individuals, some of them.
John Podhoretz. But no, it's when I went to Iraq. And the main takeaway for me is we're not good at it.
Yeah.
We're just like leaving aside the dumb spread democracy and all that nonsense, turn Baghdad into Belgium. It's just stupid. But what's not stupid is the idea that you can't have disorder because it metastasizes. And getting there, my assessment, and has not changed in 25 years, is we're not suited for this at all, because we don't have the self-confidence required to do it, because our society at its core is really thin. There's nothing really there, actually, other than some distorted version of capitalism, which is kind of disgusting.
Do you think that was true, say, in the 50s and 60s, and it's changed? Or?
I think the fight, the Cold War, the battle against the Soviets, gave a kind of clarity and purpose.
Yeah.
But even then, the U.S. sided with the Viet Minh, actually, in 1954 at Dien Bien Phu against the French. Like, there was never really a kind of consistent, that's little known. Yeah, but not even grand strategy, but like a consistent worldview or instinct. Like the English, for all their many faults, at the height of empire, the height of the Victorian period, like they really believed they were superior. Now we deride that as racist. But you have to have that. You have to believe my way is the better way, or why are we doing this in the first place? To extract minerals? Like, that's not, over time, people can't sustain that. You really have to have an evangelical spirit, and we don't have that.
Well, and think about what Trump's been knocked for, especially